the pegged stablecoins are really not that much needed, especially if, as crypto users, as crypto maxis, we believe that the current system is going to collapse. The current financial system is going to collapse. It probably going to happen due to the collapse of a dollar as a payment vehicle, as a global payment vehicle. So obviously within the US, people will still be using dollars. Most likely in the Northern Hemisphere, USD, Canada, yeah, sure, dollar. Mexico as well, and potentially the entire Latin America, because Latin America is politically under US. So that we could say, Panama, which is dollarized, will keep being dollarized. So that hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, therefore, Latin America, North America, South America rather, and North America, yes, chances are they'll still be significantly dollarized. However, what's the population over there? It's like maybe 2 billion people, right? Maybe 3 billion people. But the majority of people, 50% plus, live outside of those hemispheres. It's Eurasia and Africa, and with super tiny, presence in Australia and New Zealand. So in Oceania. So it's really Africa and Eurasia. So, and there, I think we have about 5 billion people residing there. So, and they will be potentially de-dollarizing. If they're going to be de-dollarizing, what's going to happen to Tether and what's going to happen to Circle? And that's why I'm saying that the whole concept of building the business for the next 50 years, let's assume Tether needs to exist for the next 50 years. If you're looking 50 years forward, why would we create a stablecoin that is pegged to a dollar? Why, what will go in our heads to do this? If you believe that in 50 years, dollar will not necessarily have as much power as it has today. So it's a massive dissonance. Same thing with Circle. Same thing with, now you know my view, like if you buy in Circle stock, maybe you shouldn't, right? Not a financial advice. Because 50 years from now, there's no need in Circle for the most part, unless they are able to pivot and kind of reinvest, their current earnings into something else, and become something else. But as a stablecoin itself, that need will more or less disappear very soon and very consistently. That's why I'm arguing that the pegged stablecoins to a dollar may not be the answer. Maybe we should be looking into non-pegged stablecoins, such as, again, we didn't get to this yet, so let me get to this. Oh, by the way, Amplify. So 30 million, right? Frax, 130 million. It's nothing. In crypto terms, this is nothing. It's a massive success. I get it. 138 million. How many projects like this? It's top 1,000 projects, right? Like top 230 projects. But it's nothing. It's really nothing. This use case does not exist. Because again, in my opinion, the whole point of stablecoin is multi-chain and ideally cross-chain. That is how you may go for adoption. Without that, there's no adoption. Why would you go for Frax if there's Tether? Because Tether is way more multi-chain. And then the question about decentralization is always in question. Yet you're taking massive risk for the algorithmic thing. So you can hold Frax to hold a dollar with insane risk. Why would you do that? Same thing. Why would you hold Tether or Circle while you're having risk of both of these collapsing for whatever reason due to any type of hacks? Why would you do that if you just can hold a dollar, right? That's a question. I'm talking about long-term hold. To make a transaction fine, but a long-term holding. Why would you do that? So let's go back to our PowerPoint here. Okay. So that's why I'm arguing non-pegged stablecoins. Those are perhaps the go-to solution. Now, what type of non-pegged stablecoins do we have? So, it may sound funny, but it's Bitcoin and gold. Those are the two first ones. The Bitcoiners would potentially argue that, listen, 1 Bitcoin is equal to 1 Bitcoin. It's not pegged, right? So yeah, it's what, $80,000 today? Sure, it's $80,000. It's not pegged to a dollar, but it doesn't have to be pegged to a dollar because Bitcoin is a currency. It's a stable coin. It's stable to itself. 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. Same thing with gold. 1 ounce of gold is 1 ounce of gold. Okay. Is that a fair statement? Potentially. And I would group those as inelastic stablecoins, right? So kind of, the Bitcoin is the Bitcoin because it's inelastic. Gold is gold because it's inelastic, right? It's scarce supply. Okay. Fine. But the we also have other representatives of non-pegged yet algorithmic stablecoins. So obviously we all know Olympus because we keep mentioning Olympus like almost every other call, right? But I did mention to you guys a couple of times Rye, which is by Reflexer. So the project name is Reflexer, and the coin, the token name is Rye, R-A-I. So let me go back to the web and give you a little bit of more light into that. So here's a Reflexer. Reflexer is not very much alive, as we can see. Stuff is not really populated anymore. Now, Rye was the idea behind Rye, the contributors behind Rye were the same contributors as early contributors of DAI. So that is not like some shitty project. It's a pretty good project. Again, I met with one of the co-founders of, well, maybe not co-founders, but like insane contributors into of Rye and therefore of DAI. About 4 years ago, 4 years ago at one of the events. It was completely random. It was totally random. The guy was a total crypto maxi. Like it's like it's crazy how contributors behind cool projects are also cool. You know, from perspective of Web3, like totally crypto maxi. And today I tried to dive a little bit deeper into the docs of how it works, and docs like they say, hey, look at this diagram, like look at this simple diagram. That's how it works. Like it's very simple. So the diagram is extremely complicated. To sum it up, there's a white paper here, so I started reading it. So Rye, low volatility trust minimized collateral for the DeFi ecosystem, was written in May 2020. And it talks about essentially very similar model to DAI. So it's auction-based, it's DeFi 2.0, auction-based system. However, it is not pegged to $1. And while it sounds cool, the question is, what are my expectations if I'm a random user? What are my expectations of holding Rye? Will Rye increase in price or will it drop in price? And what will dictate what's going to happen to the price of Rye? Because I get it, you guys don't want to be pegged to $1, but what shall I be expecting as a long-term holder? If, for example, I sell my Bitcoins, I want to, allocate my proceeds into Rye. How shall I do that? I don't want to deal with cash, with fiat, like with physical fiat, but I'm still okay with Rye. If it's $1, what's going to happen? So the current price of Rye is $3, by the way. So that's if you're going to go through the entire view. So it started at 2.9 and now it's 3.1. So with a slight pump here up to the $5 at very low volume, just $30,000 volume, which happened about a year ago. The market cap is just 1.75 million. So rounded up to 2 million. So nobody really cares about it anymore. And I try to understand how does it work? So again, the summary is DAI without the pegging. So same thing as DAI, but no pegging. The problem with that approach is, okay, it's not pegged, but what is the strategy? How does it work down the road? Where will it go down the road? So it's a very active type of holders who will be holding it, and the expectations are very dubious, and it's just questionable, like what to do. And I think that's the reason why they really didn't proceed further with adoption. Now, Olympus is clearly the second non-pegged algorithmic stablecoin. Well, let's read how they call themselves. They do not call themselves stablecoin, they were calling themselves reserve token before. Now it's different. The Olympus protocol is a decentralized system, that supports Ohm, a treasury-backed liquidity enabling token on the Ethereum network. The positioning of Ohm is also pretty difficult now, I would argue. Like, what is Ohm? If we meet at a party, cocktail party, and you start telling me what Ohm is, you'll have very difficult time explaining it to me. Like, I'll lose my focus very fast. So I believe that when they said that they were the non-pegged reserve currency, that positioning was way better. It was a lot easier to understand. If you want to bridge from Web3 utopia to Web3 reality and reclaim your rights of privacy, financial autonomy, and ownership, join the Ghost ecosystem by visiting chain.ghostchain.io. You can find all the necessary links in the video description below.